Hi everyone, it's Heidi here from the Nest Kids CPR and Allergy. I hope you're all having a lovely Saturday. We're just chilling out here in front of Netflix after a busy morning. So if you're not familiar with the Nest Kids CPR and Allergy is a service where we do classes for parents, caregivers, aunts, uncles, anyone who looks after children or has children, or pregnant couples that haven't yet had their children that are expecting, and we do classes where we teach CPR, first aid, all different types of first aid, the most common things that happen in our homes and around us at all times. And we also have an allergy element. We are all paediatric nurses over at the Nest. We're all registered nurses, and I am a clinical nurse specialist in childhood allergy. So we have an allergy element as well. So if people want a touch of allergy in their classes, then we have that too. So we have two different types of classes, one with allergy and one without. And we tailor that. And we do classes in lots of different hospitals and clinics in Sydney, and also in your home. So you can have home classes for 6 people or more. If we're not in your area, then you can send us a message and we can see what we can do in your area. So if you're not in Sydney, don't worry, give us a shout and we'll let you know. So today I'm just coming on about introducing common allergenic foods. It's a really big worry. The question I get asked all the time, I've just been at a birthday party there, and as soon as people hear I'm an allergy nurse, they say, how do you give peanut butter? Like, how do you give this and how do you give that? And the simple answer is in the mouth. There is no magic way to do it. We do have a little system that we do at the hospital, and I'll talk you through that. But basically we don't rub it on the skin, because the skin is probably going to go red if you rubbed something like that on it anyway, and it doesn't really tell us anything. That doesn't tell us that you have an allergy. Like, an allergy is when you actually ingest the food and that food gets into your bloodstream and the mast cells release, and anyway, it's a whole complicated thing. But basically you have to ingest the food 99.9% of the time to have a nasty anaphylactic reaction. So by rubbing it on someone's skin, if it goes red, it doesn't really tell us anything. It just tells us that the skin's a bit sensitive to that. We also no longer rub it on the lips like we used to, because again, the lips can be quite sensitive and can swell up a little bit, but that really doesn't tell us that you have an allergy that's going to create issues internally with your with anaphylaxis or anything like that. So what we do is, if you have no reason to think that your child has an allergy to a certain type of food, then you should be introducing that food. Okay, so for instance, eggs, milk, cow's milk, nuts, tree nuts, fish, soy, wheat, all these kind of things, sesame seeds, they should all be introduced by the age of 1. Okay, so the guidelines are between 4 and 6 months, no earlier than 4, but you should be introducing by 6 months. And as long as they can sit up with their head up properly and not got any issues swallowing, we shouldn't be introducing foods to a 4-month-old if they're still quite floppy and they can't really hold their head up. They need to be able to hold their head up and they're showing some interesting food. And what we use at the hospital is an Introducing Foods at Home guide. And basically what that guide tells us is to, every half an hour, we introduce a small piece of the food. So for instance, if you were to introduce peanut butter, what we would get you to do is give 1/8 of a teaspoon to your child straight in the mouth. If it dribbles all around, then we need to be wiping that off. And we give 1/8 of the teaspoon, and then we wait 30 minutes. Okay, and then we double that and we give 1/4 of a teaspoon, and then we wait 30 minutes. And then we double that and give 1/2 a teaspoon and wait 30 minutes. And then we double that and give a whole teaspoon and wait 30 minutes. Okay, so those 4 separate doses: 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, and a whole. And so we're doubling each time. We're waiting 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. So you can see any symptoms coming up or any problems. And that's how we would introduce peanut butter. So if you're introducing peanuts and you're doing it in the form of peanut butter, it needs to be really good quality peanut butter. Okay, it needs to be from like the health food shop where it's like 99% peanuts. Okay, because if you look at some of the peanut butters, they're only like 50% peanut. So when you're introducing, it needs to be the pure form, the really good quality, all it is peanuts in there, okay? After they've had that, then after they've had the 1/8 of a teaspoon, quarter, half and a whole, we then say for the next 3 days, give them a teaspoon, a teaspoon and a teaspoon. So in 4 days, they've had the 4 teaspoons. And then you just keep it in the diet regularly. That's the most important thing. If you stop something, there's like the body almost thinks, oh, you stopped it, so that must be something to worry about, and it can create allergies, or it can make an existing allergy worse. So we must keep it in the diet once you've introduced it, okay? With the other types of nuts, obviously they can be big and they can be, tricky or chokeable. So what we need to do is just grind them up. Whether you use a pestle and a mortar or a NutriBullet, whatever you use, you want to grind them up so that you can actually measure out a teaspoon, okay? Once you've introduced a certain amount of nuts, every time you get another nut that you know that your child's okay with, I would get all those nuts that you've introduced into a pot, grind them all up together into a pot in the fridge, and just 1 scoop on some food once a week minimum. Okay, so then you know that they're always kept in the diet. You don't have to think about the nuts individually, and that's just a really good. Also, nuts are really good for our children. They're a good source of, food for our kids as well. So that's a good tip to do. When you are introducing the nuts, I would probably introduce them individually so that you can see any individual issues coming up, and I would do 1 nut per week. So say, for instance, you're introducing the peanuts, you're doing on day 1 in the morning so that you've got time to see if anything, you get any reactions. You don't really want to be doing it just before bedtime. So you're giving the 1/8, the quarter, the half, and then the whole. And then that's day 1. And then day 2, you're giving a teaspoon. Day 3, you're giving a teaspoon. And day 4, you're giving a teaspoon. And then that's kind of it for that week. Okay, so then the next Monday comes around and you can start a different nut. And that's how we introduce common allergenic foods. On another live, I will go into how we introduce things that you can't do with teaspoons, like liquids and like breads and baked goods, things like that. I'll go through that in another live. But I hope that's been helpful today. If you want to take a look at our classes, then you can just pop over to the website, which is on this page. And if you have any questions for us, child health related or allergy related, then give us a shout. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.